Pleasure is not a mysterious gift that some people wake up with and others don't. It is feedback, information, and a practice. If you want more of it, you treat it like a project. Observe, experiment, get results, iterate. Start by dropping the shame and the stories that say pleasure is complicated or rare. Pleasure is simple in its mechanics and profound in its effects. It shows you what to do more of and what to stop. The work is curiosity plus courage. The skill is attention. One truth you'll hear again and again from women who feel satisfied is that their best experiences were never about a single magic move, they were about alignment, agency, communication, and presence. Alignment means the bodies are in the right angle for sensation to register. Tiny shifts change everything. Agency means the person receiving feels allowed to guide tempo, depth, and rhythm. Communication means checking in short, clear ways, not with a script, but with honest, useful words. Presence means looking up from autopilot and staying connected, seeing the other person, breathing together, holding hands, making eye contact. When you combine those four elements you get consistency, and consistency breeds trust, and trust allows risk and intensity. Think of pleasure as a conversation. Conversations go well when people are curious, when they ask simple questions, and when they listen. Use that model. Ask a short question. Does that angle feel good? Say one short instruction. A little slower. Notice nonverbal answers. Breath changes, hands that move toward you, toes that tense. Those are data. Act on them. Experiment like scientists, not performers. You don't need a script, you need curiosity and responsiveness. There are certain configurations people commonly report as helpful because they support the principles I just named. Call them tools in your toolbox. The first tool emphasizes face-to-face closeness. When two people are chest to chest and facing each other, everything else becomes secondary to connection. Eye contact amplifies sensation for many women because it makes the experience emotionally safe and fully witnessed. The second tool is the woman in control of motion. When she can guide pace and depth, feedback loops tighten and the body responds more readily. The third tool is side-by-side closeness, the gentle kind of contact that sustains warmth and tenderness for a long time. The fourth tool blends stability and intimacy, like a seated arrangement where both partners can maintain eye contact and use their hands freely. The fifth tool is variety with support, using the edge of a bed or a wall to change angles and introduce novelty while keeping safety in mind. But the tools are nothing without adjustments. For alignment, a pillow under the hips, a small lean forward or back, or a tiny change in angle can shift a dull night into something measurable. For agency, encourage the person who feels pleasure to take the lead sometimes, to pace and tilt until it clicks. For communication, keep language short and practical. That's perfect, hold it, or, let's try a hair slower. For presence, remove distractions, silence phones, and give a minute to breathe and reconnect if attention drifts. Tiny environmental moves matter. Lighting, temperature, and comfort all create space for the body to relax and respond. There are also pacing strategies that tend to work. Alternating rhythm increases sensitivity. Slow and deliberate motion, then a build-up, then a pause to breathe and reconnect. Pauses are not interruptions, they are tension builders. Use short breaks to kiss, hold, and look at each other. Those small intermissions reset the nervous system and make sensations sharper when you return. Variety keeps the nervous system interested. Repetition dulls, change renews. Another pattern that often comes up is the interplay between physical touch and verbal affirmation. A whispered observation, "I love how you move," paired with a clear direction, "a little deeper now," creates safety and excitement simultaneously. Compliments that are specific and grounded in the moment feel authentic and invite more risk and vulnerability. Let's talk about safety and basics because they matter more than technique. If something hurts, stop. If something feels off, say so. Use lubrication when needed. Support backs and knees to avoid strain. Check in after trying something new. These are housekeeping items that protect pleasure by removing pain and distraction. Laughter is also a muscle that helps. Don't be afraid to laugh at awkwardness. It dissolves tension and restores rhythm. Now, build a simple practice. Pick one principle, alignment, agency, communication, or presence, and focus on it for a week. If you choose alignment, experiment with tiny changes and take notes. If you choose agency, have the receiving partner lead 3 times and observe what changes. If you choose communication, practice 2 short, clear phrases during the experience. If you choose presence, start by taking 20 seconds to look at each other before anything else. Small focused practice yields large returns because habits compound. Remember that curiosity beats perfection. Treat every intimate moment as an experiment rather than a performance. Celebrate what works and treat what doesn't as data. When women describe their best experiences, they talk less about flawless technique and more about feeling seen, heard, and in control of their pleasure. They describe being safe to guide, safe to stop, and safe to ask. They describe partners who listen and then adjust. There is also power in intentionality. Decide together that you want to increase pleasure. Set a simple goal. Tonight we'll try 1 new angle and 1 new pacing. Make it playful. Remove pressure by treating it like a date where the outcome is curiosity, not validation. When you frame intimacy as exploration, you open the door to learning and joy, and you remove the high-stakes expectation that everything must be perfect. Finally, keep practicing outside the bedroom. Build emotional safety through small daily gestures, being present at meals, asking about the day, touching in non-sexual ways. Those moments create the container in which physical pleasure expands. The muscle of attention you exercise in everyday life carries over. The more you practice listening, adjusting, and being present, the more reliable pleasure becomes. Pleasure is not an accident. It's crafted by people who are willing to observe, communicate, and experiment. Start with 1 principle tonight. Make 1 tiny adjustment. Ask 1 clear question. Listen without judgment. Repeat what works and treat failures as instructions. This approach will give you more reliable joy, deeper connection, and a path to the kind of satisfaction people describe when they say, simply, that felt right. Emotional presence and intimacy are the foundation that turns physical acts into meaningful experiences. When 2 people show up fully to one another, the body responds differently because the nervous system relaxes and the mind stops running scenarios and starts registering sensation. Presence begins with a decision to be here now, to silence phones, drop tasks from the mind, and offer undivided attention for a set amount of time. It is practical, not mystical. It looks like facing each other and slowing down long enough to notice breath, warmth, and how a voice changes when someone feels safe. Being present requires language that is short and useful, not theatrical. Say things like, "I'm here with you," or, "Slow down for a beat," or, "This angle feels good, can you hold it?" And then listen. Listening in this context is active. It means watching for breath changes, watching for micro movements in the face and body, noticing when hands tighten or relax, and then making small adjustments. Presence is also energetic. If one person is distracted, hurried, or emotionally checked out, that vibration translates into the room and shuts down sensation. Intimacy is not only sexual, it is the accumulation of non-sexual moments where people choose one another. Simple patterns matter. Sitting together without screens, sharing a routine, making physical contact that isn't aimed at arousal. The more of those small choices you make, the less the bedroom carries all the weight of the relationship. This is practical because stress and resentment are major sex killers. Presence and intimacy create buffers against those erosive forces. They also create a climate where curiosity is safe. When both partners know they will be met with care rather than judgment, they are likelier to speak up and try new things. Another functional component is timing. Emotional presence is about pacing attention over minutes, not seconds. Too many people rush from small talk to intense moments without the ramp. Slow the approach and the whole system responds better. Start with a grounding touch, a calm conversation about desire, a slow kiss, or a hug that lasts longer than usual. Let the body register warmth and trust. Presence magnifies small touches into meaningful signals because the receiver's attention is not split. The significance of that cannot be overstated. Attention amplifies sensation. Transparency about emotion also deepens intimacy. Saying something like, "I feel nervous but I want to try this," invites compassion and collaboration. Vulnerability becomes performance only when it is used as a show. Vulnerability strengthens intimacy when it is honest and followed by responsive action. Partners who model this behavior create a feedback loop of safety. That loop is the engine that allows experimentation. You try a new thing, you check in, you adjust, you try again. It's iterative and low pressure, and it replaces expecting perfection with expecting learning. Presence is also relational. It builds over time. A single night of focus helps, but consistent small practices compound. Make it a habit to touch without agenda, to ask a single clear question about comfort, and to celebrate small discoveries. Those habits convert isolated good experiences into reliable patterns. There are practical signals to use as guides. Longer exhales often indicate relaxation, faster shallow breathing can signal overstimulation or tension, and a partner who reaches for you is asking for closeness. Learn to interpret these signs rather than imposing a script. Presence removes performance and replaces it with partnership. It turns techniques into tools that serve a shared purpose rather than one person's checklist. When you bring emotional presence into the room, you create permission for honest feedback, safe for vulnerability, and playful experimentation. You also increase the chances that the physical actions translate into deeper satisfaction because they are aligned with attention, trust, and responsiveness and teach you how to notice small signals, adjust in real time, and stay curious together. Variety, pacing, and pauses are the practical levers that convert routine into discovery and predictability into surprise, and they work because the nervous system responds to contrast. When you change rhythm, pressure, or position, you reset sensation and make the next contact feel fresher and more intense. Variety doesn't mean chaos, it means intentional change. Think of it like a playlist. A slow song followed by a beat-heavy track catches attention because it breaks expectation. In intimate moments you can use the same principle by alternating tempo, switching roles of control, or introducing small positional tweaks that shift angle and sensation. Those changes don't require performance or theatrics, they require awareness and a willingness to experiment. Pacing is the backbone of variety. Many people rush through attraction to the orgasm-focused part as if the finish line is the only point that matters, but what actually amplifies the peak is the architecture you build beforehand. Start with slower, deliberate touch to recruit attention and calm the sympathetic nervous system, then layer in moments of increased intensity, and follow with a lowering of tempo to let the sensation sink in. Those rises and falls create tension and release, the essential dynamic of memorable experiences. Pauses are not interruptions, they are amplifiers. Stopping briefly after a crescendo makes the next movement register more strongly because the nervous system does not have a constant input to adapt to. Use pauses to breathe together, to kiss, to hold eye contact, or to whisper one short, genuine observation. Even a 5-second pause after an intense moment can increase sensitivity when you resume because the body requires a small reset to notice differences again. Variety can also be structural. Rotate through different types of touch: broad, surface contact versus focused, precise stimulation, alternate between full body closeness and more localized attention, or move between positions that emphasize different sensations. Each shift offers new information to the brain and prevents habituation, which is the blunt enemy of pleasure. Habituation happens fast when the same pattern repeats. Novelty interrupts that process and keeps the nervous system curious. Practical implementation is simple. Plan to change something every few minutes rather than trying to maintain one unvarying rhythm for the entire encounter. That could be as small as changing the angle of contact, switching who leads for a short span, or moving from slow to slightly faster motion and back. Keep language minimal and functional. Hold that, slow a beat, try this angle, and let movement communicate the rest. Another effective rule is contrast pairing. Combine a gentle long stroke with a sudden short pulse, or alternate deep pressure with feather-light exploration. Contrast sharpens perception the same way a highlighter makes text pop on a page. Pacing also involves micro-pacing inside a single motion. Vary acceleration within a stroke instead of keeping it even and predictable. A slow build-up with a quick crescendo and an immediate softening tends to be more evocative than a constant speed, because your partner's body is constantly calibrating to what's coming next. Importantly, variety and pacing are not purely physical, they are emotional tools as well. Playfulness, curiosity, and the absence of pressure create psychological freedom to explore. Frame experiments as shared learning rather than tests. If you try something and it lands, take another measure in the same direction. If it misses, note it as data and pivot without blame.